You're listening to episode 48, The Haunted Mask, directed by Timothy Bond. Is it the scariest Goosebumps? Let's find out on this episode of Video Villa Podcast. And what better way to close out Halloween with what I feel should be everyone's childhood favorite, Goosebumps. And if you're like me, what's your favorite?
Oh, yeah. Goosebumps is it is premium nostalgia. I feel to say. It is if Goosebumps was like a drug, it'd be highly addictive.
Yeah.
Well, you go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't one of these VHSs from my grandma's house? We had one of the Goosebumps.
Yeah, so the Haunted Mask is yours.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is the one that we bought at Tapes from the Creek.
Yeah. So not that long ago, well, intermittently, I've been going through my grandma's attic, and I found a box full of all my old VHSs, and without fail, the Haunted Mask was in it. And it's cool, retro, purple, and blue tie-dye.
Yeah, and that's another cool thing is they didn't make every episode into a VHS. It was mainly like the specials, the Goosebumps specials. Those are the ones that they actually manufacture and put into VHS. I think there's 8 or 12. I think there's 12 of them maybe. Mm-hmm. I'm not too sure. But yeah, Haunted Mask was like the very first one.
Yeah.
And then, we got the Haunted Mask 2. Which, if you like this episode, we're doing the first one today, but I brought out the 2 because it makes sense. But if you like this one, we might do a series where we go through all the different Goosebumps. So let us know your feedback at the end. Yeah. And let us know if you liked it or not.
Yeah, and then we also have the books. I don't know why Logan bought them because I have a collection already. But
I don't think you had these though. I really don't think you had these.
I don't know. I have a decent amount. I'm still working on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have the Abominable Snowman one, and
I know I have the ventriloquist puppet one.
Which one though? The Night of the Living Dummy? Because there's both. 3 of them.
Yeah.
Well,
not both, but 2 of the 3.
Yeah. Which is weird because that was one that they made into a special, which they made Night of the Living Dummy 3 into a special, and I don't believe the others ever actually got a official release as far as the TV show goes. So it's very weird for them to make an episode of the show based off the 3rd installment of that series of books, which is funny. But yeah, I don't know what it is about Goosebumps. But I don't know. It's just something that it really does take me back to my childhood.
Yeah.
Even watching the show and being around the merchandise, it's almost like I get this smell. I can almost smell being in Kmart during the Halloween section and looking through the Goosebumps aisle in the toy / whatever aisle it might have been in. But because they had cool gadgets and stuff like that. It was huge, humongous. What was your experience?
What do you mean my experience?
With Goosebumps,
I didn't do any the merchandise or anything like that.
You didn't have
just
the Goosebumps watch or none of that stuff?
So I started with the books and then just stuck with the books. And I used to have the majority of the books, but I think between moving homes and stuff, they just were given away or who knows what. They might be in an attic somewhere in my family. And then moved on to the tapes.
Oh yeah, man! I had I think it was Taco Bell, if I can't remember correctly. I had the Taco Bell little toys that came in their version of a Happy Meal. I had watches. I had the for some reason I had the claw machine. I don't know why they made a little at home claw machine. I had that. I had the little hand puppets and stuff like that. It was definitely a vibe. 100%.
I will say though, I never really got into the watches or anything like that. Like how Sierra, when we went thrifting all together, she got like the SpongeBob watches.
Oh no,
she
I was
found
all
them.
about that.
I never really cared for those items, like the little trinkets and stuff.
I had the Lost World watches. I had the Wild Wild West sunglasses from Burger King. I mean, if anything came out that was movie related, like 9 times out of 10, like something about it drew my attention, and like I had to have it. I don't know what it is, and probably just good marketing and stuff.
Well, yeah.
But like I said, like Goosebumps is just, I don't know what it is. It's just something about it that it just is so freaking cool. Like there's certain times in your life where you see something and you're like, I don't know what it is about this one thing, but it just oozes. Like in my opinion, like that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you see a logo and stuff like that. And you're like, that's freaking cool. I like that. Like we were going somewhere. I'm not really a car guy, but we were driving somewhere and there was a car and it drove like on the opposite side of the highway. I think.
We were going to New Jersey.
Yeah, and like it passed us, and I'm like, I don't know what car that is.
It was a Goosebumps green, like
it was
Lamborghini or something. I don't know. It was a nice luxury / sports car.
Oh my god! All I know is I don't care. All I know is I wanted that color. I'm like, I want to paint my truck that color. It was so It's like it just popped. Like it
it stood out.
Yeah, and that was the kind of thing with this. I mean, like you got Tim Jacobus's artwork, which is on like I believe every book but 2. There's 2 books that he did that he didn't do. I think it was the second one in the franchise and another one. Those are the only 2 books that he didn't do the cover artwork for. All the other 60-something books in the original line he did, and it was very colorful. Even though we're talking about dark subjects, he used a lot of color in his palettes, and it was the 90s. So we did do a lot of neon in the 90s and almost some like pastel, but brightly colored pastels, if that made sense. Like a lot of track jackets and stuff like that. Like this purple. I mean, I guess technically the purple around the VHS would consider a neon purple or whatever.
Yeah. Like an electric purple.
Yeah. Even if you look how the tape is, with the purple and the blues and the yellows and the greens, when you're looking at books, that caught your eye.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, don't you think?
Yeah, I would agree. They all stand out. They give the whole vibe of like when Taco Bell used to be the old Taco Bell design.
Yeah.
And Wendy's used to have sunrooms. I don't know if you guys had Boardwalk fries, but like we used to have a restaurant called Boardwalk Fries.
I don't recall them.
Yeah, they were usually in like Walmarts, like not inside the Walmart, but you walk out of the Walmart and it'd be kind of like an open mall space, and it would be like there along with like a McDonald's and stuff like that. But those old school designs that are still super eye catching.
Oh yeah, like what you say like about the Taco Bell is like 100%. That's the nail on the head. That is, and when I think of 90s, it is Taco Bell.
Did you open this?
Huh?
Did you open this?
Yeah, it's open.
Did I write my name on it?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't.
So I used to write my name on the VHSs. No, like on the labels. So that way between me and my sister, I know they were mine.
Well, here's the thing. And another thing is like when we're talking about the books and stuff, like, like that book right there, like books, the book cover of a book was, I would say, the equivalents to like a VHS tape. I mean, 100%. When you went down the aisle in like a movie store, like Video Villa, you wanted to pick up something that said, "Pick me." You wanted to grab a tape that said, "Pick me." And it was the cool, crazy cover art. And, a lot of some of the best tapes, like some of the best, like most popular, I guess, or more, tapes that are, I guess, worth more money usually have the coolest cover art, even though typically the movie's probably not even that great, but the cover art was almost told a story. So told you like, pick me, because that's what they were going off of. I would say books are 100% that. These days, like I've been reading a lot more lately, and when I see when I'm buying like my books, because I typically like to have like older vintage books. I don't like to have anything more new or anything like when I say more new, but like anything where they actually start to change the actual artwork of the cover of the book. I've noticed where like artwork these days no one gives a shit about it. Like, there's nothing on this book that says, I want to read this. And I think it's a shame.
Well, yeah, I think it's because reading like physical material has died off now that you have like audiobooks and
Yeah, you're
things
probably
like
right about
that
that.
have blossomed. They're like, why invest in that?
Yeah, I mean, because it's crazy. Because like, I am, like I am now. I'm like talking about like like children's books. So yeah, it's want to be eye catchy for children. Because I mean, no offense, but like I mean, like I think there's only like maybe 4 bad eggs out of all the 60 something books that the original run. Well, I mean, when I say bad eggs, I mean like the artwork's not that great, but literally 9 times out of 10, you have a bunch of books in a basket and you just grab one. 9 times out of 10 it's gonna be a fucking cool ass book.
Yeah.
And then the art, not the art, but like the story in themselves, they were very compelling to kids. I mean, did you get scared when you read them?
Yeah, they were age appropriate, suspenseful.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say. And it's kind of cool because like that was R.L. Stine's, his goal was to scare kids, but he didn't want them to literally be afraid after they put the book down.
Yeah, they not so scared that they wouldn't continue reading them, but so scared that or scared enough that it hooked them in that they wanted to read other semi-suspenseful stories.
Yeah, it was basically Goosebumps were made for the 7 to 12 demographic. And the goal was to get kids reading. That was his main goal. I just care about getting kids reading. That was his, like, I mean, mind you, he did other stuff before Goosebumps, but the Goosebump line that's what it was. He wanted to get the younger generations into reading something. And it wasn't even, like, he didn't even plan on doing it. Like, this was kind of like more of just a whim. Like, he had already been doing the Fear Street series since, what was it, 89 is when he started that. Before that, in his early years, he was actually just writing jokes in a kids magazine called Bananas, which was like Mad Magazine, but for like kids. Yeah. He did that for many years. And then it was one of his publishers or whatever is like, I think you'd be really good at like writing maybe like some horror because you do have a way with words. And in 1986, he wrote his first horror book called Blind Date. And in there, he just kind of like found his little niche. And then he, like I said, in 89, he started the Fear Street series. Now that's different. Did you ever read any of the Fear Street?
Not that I recall.
I started reading some of the Fear Street like just before the review because I just wanted to get a grasp of like the difference of like where Fear Street is and where like Goosebumps is. So like Fear Street's more like high school related. Yeah. Fear Street, he does kill kids in Fear Street. Yeah, what's called. And like that was like his big thing. He's like, I've been killing kids for years. I've been teenagers. But like, yeah, he's like, what's called. Those are very more, not like super, it's not like a Stephen King, but they are definitely more graphic, young adult. And once again, those covers are super cool. They were more realistic. They weren't cartoony. But yeah, I also want to start reading some of those because next year they just announced the 4th installment of the movies. And they're actually going to do one based off of one of his original stories. And it's not, I don't think they're going to sync it up with the other 3 that came on Netflix. And it's going to be over The Prom Queen, which is the one I downloaded. So I'm going to start reading that one to see how like it differs. I started reading another one like Bad Dreams. I think I started reading Bad Dreams. I think that's what it's called. It was okay. It's definitely like, that one's more like ghosts and stuff like that. I wish I would have started Prom Queen first. Cause it seemed like more of like up my alley, kind of almost like a prom night where people just start dying.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, but yeah, he started working with that. And then that's when he went in, and then from there, they're like, hey, how about you try a younger audience? And that's when he got into Goosebumps. I actually, to be honest, I didn't read a lot of the books.
Yeah.
I didn't, I mean, I'm dyslexic. So like I didn't start actually reading books. I always started with comic books, just because it was just easier to read because like, you don't have to read out what's going on because you can visually see it.
Yeah.
So then you're just reading dialogue, which is much, much easier.
Yeah, I really liked Goosebumps, and then I really like Scary Stories That You Tell in the Dark, or I might have butchered that. But and then also like the other ones that were like kind of like not morbid fairy tales, but like what's the one where is it the teacher or the librarian, maybe it's a witch, has a string or just a person, the string tied around her neck, and then it comes off and her head falls off.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, hold on one second. Thank you for that brief intermission. So it was originally a short story from the book, In a Dark, Dark Room, and Other Scary Stories. So they were children's like horror, but folklore. So like there were some like lessons in it to like, things, moral compasses and stuff like that. And if you didn't follow the moral compass, bad things would happen. And then it's kind of like the horror element of it. And then I switched over to poetry, like Where the Sidewalk Ends and things like that. I'll send you the cover so you can post all these if you're looking for recommendations of children's books.
Well, the other thing is like I was always infatuated with the books. Like I said, like whatever they were doing, like I said, I mean, freaking Tim Jacobus, his artwork just it spoke to me. Like I said, I was a scaredy cat growing up a lot. I've said this a lot and I'll continue to say it through how many years we do podcasting. So I didn't get into horror till much later, but this was my legit introduction to horror. Yeah, this was. Yeah.
I will say, so I was a lot like Carly Beth from, The Haunted Mask, which like real life things scared me a lot. Like I could easily be spooked, like jump scared, things like that. But I could read like Goosebumps or, The Dark, Dark Room and Other Scary Stories or, the stories you tell in the other book I referenced. Like I could read all those and just be like just enough scared, but not too scared. But yet actual movies and stuff, it would be like too much.
Yeah. See, that's the thing with me is like, I wasn't a scaredy cat like the Carly Beth. I just would get super stressed out because I couldn't tell how scary something was going to be. So the stress of like worried about how scared I'm going to get is what actually scared me. So then I just wouldn't. Yeah. That's literally how my like fear was. But like, I was always drawn to it. Like, I mean, yes, I didn't rent VHSs, but I used to walk down the horror aisle every single time we went to Video Villa. Every single time I'd walk down it because I loved looking at the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
I didn't read at the time when these came out. I mean, because I was relatively young. But I used to love looking at the books. My sister read the books, and I used to just sit in a room just looking at the book and just thinking about what story was in underneath it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's crazy the fact that I didn't pick it up, but it was just so difficult for me I could read, but to read a book
and retain it as you go.
With dyslexia is very difficult. You do find yourself rereading. I can't tell you how many times I tried to pick up the freaking Hobbit and I would rent it out of the library so many times and I couldn't get past the first chapter. And I would just always quit because I didn't know what the hell was going on and I couldn't retain anything just because it was so difficult just to read the words.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I say that, I mean, not saying like I can read, understand the word. It's just the way it's a vision thing where it's just the way your eyes are able to see something.
Well, yeah, that's what dyslexia is.
Yeah. And then I'm just talking to the viewers. Not everyone really knows, but then the way your body receives that image, that's where the link is being disturbed.
Yeah.
So the brain's not fully processing it.
Well, especially in your developmental years, it's very easy to be discouraged because first off, you're trying to learn to read to begin with.
Yeah.
And the English language is incredibly challenging. And then to be, challenged in a different way on top of that, I could definitely see where that might delay someone's curiosity to actually read when there's other ways that you could digest information, like through comic books or things like that, visual representations rather than actually like reading.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like with comics, it is so much easier, which the cool thing is they actually turn some of these stories into a graphic novel. So that's very cool for people maybe who are like me that are children, if they are, get into Goosebumps. Because Goosebumps, even though it had a rise and fall, it is still going strong. I mean, still new readers are going back and rereading the republished versions of the original. I think it was 62 books.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is a very, very, very good story-based book system. Some better than others. And like I said, there are great introductions to horror. So what got me was the show. I mean, the show was amazing. It originally aired on October 27th of 1995, which was the weekend before Halloween, basically. And it aired on Fox Network. It was a big, humongous event. I mean, it even had a host, and the host, which was at the time he was humongous with the retelling of the series, but the Tales from the Crypt Keeper himself was the host. So, which again, I was obsessed with monsters at that age. Yes, I didn't watch these things like I said, I didn't watch the movies. Sometimes I'd watch Tales from the Crypt because it wasn't really that scary. I watched it with my daddy, but what's called you know. I was obsessed with stuff like that. Like, at Burger King was was coming out with the Universal Monster action figures with their, the big kids meal and stuff like that. I was collecting them. That was my first, not my very first Halloween, but the very first Halloween I remember, I was Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I had a Ben Cooper Frankenstein outfit, that vinyl, whatever, plastic stuff like. So when to see something like this come out while I'm in that primitive years, like I was just drawn to it. It was just, I don't know, like, and to this day, I love looking at these books. I love the fact that I can buy a mask from the show. I mean, what's called, this is the Trick or Treat Studios ones, which if you are interested in this mask, they are releasing the actual book cover mask. And those actually are released at the end of this month. They're on pre-order right now, which those are super cool. So like I'm actually, once the pre-order goes through, I'm going to get the actual book version of this one, which, I do think this is a good like rendition from the book versus what we got on TV. I mean, I'm gonna sum it up because I can talk about Goosebumps forever. But I remember one of the biggest Halloweens that I was just super disappointed. But this came out. Okay, this was the very first episode, and they started putting out masks. They put out an older version. It didn't look nearly as good as this one. I'll throw an image on the screen for y'all to see. But I went to our Party City, which was 30-something minutes away. And I told my mom, I circled it. I'm like, this is what I want for Halloween. This is what I want. All I want is that mask. That's all I want. And I'll be damned. We went to like a chili cook-off before, and because my mom worked at the hospital and stuff. And then like went to a chili cook-off charity event until the store would open. And then, we go in there, and I swear I looked around for like over 30 minutes looking for that mask because it was an ad from that Party City. Yeah. Didn't find it anywhere. All I could find was the damn Horrorland host mask. You know which one I'm talking about? The Horrorland with the antlers? Yeah. That's all they had. They didn't have, I don't remember if Curly was a mask too, the mascot. But all I can remember is being so sad.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I guess I'll be the Grim Reaper again. I was so mad. Oh my God.
All right, Chuck. Is that the one that's a pirate every year?
There's Steve and Chuck. I can't remember which one.
One of them complains about being a pirate every year.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have any cool pictures when I was trick-or-treating when I was little, but you found a lot of cool ones. So yeah, I'm going to put those up on the screen here.
Yeah. Halloween's always just been a very big thing in my family ever since I was little.
Yeah, no,
everybody loves Halloween. Who doesn't love Halloween?
Yeah. Did you ever like dress up as any of the Goosebumps characters or anything like that? No.
I was always like random things, and it's weird because I only like vaguely remember all the things I've been. I don't like, from what I can recall, there's nothing that like jumps out to me as like that was my favorite year, like that was my favorite costume.
Oh, really? You don't have that?
Yeah.
I will say 1 year. So there's 2 years. 1 year. Now, this is when I was in my WWF phase. And I was obsessed with Kane, which Kane, they built him up like he was a monster. Yeah. He was Undertaker's brother that had been burned in a fire. He didn't talk. He was this monstrous man. And no matter what you did, yes, he would lose matches, but no, it was like, he was like Michael Myers, legit. Like you hit him in the head with a chair, he'd go down, and then just like he would rise from the dead and get back. The coolest to this day, besides Hulk Hogan, because Hulk Hogan is wrestling. But my personal opinion, like the Kane is hands down the best. I will say this: he's the best WWF character of all time. And I'm saying WWF because that's what it was. I know it's WWE now, but I'm going to call it what it was when I was watching it. But I mean, and once again, like he was like a monster. And so one year my mom handmade me a Kane outfit. And it was pretty cool. She got me like some sweatpants, cut a sleeve off, and got some velt and like sewed it to make the strip down the leg. I remember I showed my mom because I used to buy the wrestling magazines. I'm like, I want to look like this. Can you do that? And she did it. But the thing is, like, Kane was like kneeling down, and he had this like zigzag that went down his entire leg, but he was kneeling down, and I don't know who was laying on the ground, but it was covering up the rest of his leg. So she only made it go down halfway. And I was like, but it goes all the way down. And she's like, but that's not what's in the picture. I'm like, but it goes all the way down, Mama. I mean, I had a meltdown over that. But
all kids do.
Yeah, and then I wanted the like really nice mask because like back in the day, like just like Goosebumps, you open up a book when you would first get a fresh thing. There was the Goosebumps fan club.
Yeah,
WWF had a fan club. They had magazines just to sell their merch, which was always freaking hella expensive for God knows what reason. Even today, I mean, it was like priced to today's standards. Like a shirt now is $30. Back then, a $30 shirt's ridiculous, but it was like $30 shirts and shit like that. But they had a really realistic Kane mask with hair and everything, and I wanted that, and it was like $80. Mom was like, we are not doing that. So I got the $15 plastic mask, and my mom bought a bunch of weave from Walmart and made me a wig with it. I really wish I had a picture of that.
Yeah.
You know, I asked my mom before recording if she could find any pictures. Yeah, she could find nothing.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
In case she listens to this episode, that's okay.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, like that was just like, I don't know where well, that year. And then one year I had a really cool, Grim Reaper outfit. Like when I was Grim Reaper for like 4 years. Like I was obsessed with the Grim Reaper. Like I said, I just like monsters, just monsters. And I was the Grim Reaper for like 4 years. And the last year I had this skull mask, but it also had a cowl and a cape. So I had a cowl and a cape. And so it was like all I needed to do was wear all black underneath it. Oh my God, that was like the coolest freaking. To this day, like I think I think it was Chris, like last year at the Chris bar at the last year thing. I don't think it's the exact same one, but it looks very similar. He found an old vintage Grim Reaper mask, and it looked very similar to the one that I had when I was little. I mean, it looked like a real freaking skull. It was so freaking cool. But yeah, that's enough of that tangent.
Yeah. So I will read us the back, and then we will go through the movie. Shy, quiet Carly Beth is an easy target for everyone's teasing and practical jokes, but this Halloween she's found a wonderfully spooky mask that has her tormentors scared and running. Carly Beth refuses to take her new mask off, even though it seems to cause strange things to happen to her and other people. One day, the magic of the mask turns on Carly Beth. She's horrified to discover that she and the mask have become one. 1995. That's what it says at the bottom.
Yeah, because it's crazy because like the show came out like 5 years later, and like it was a massive hit. I mean, the show itself like had used a lot of practical effects. They didn't hardly use like any CGI whatsoever, and the practical effects that they did for the show were astonishing.
Yeah.
Like ridiculously good for made for TV. Mind you, this is a kids show made for TV. And then also they even had their own part. I can't remember if it was Disney World or Universal Studios. I think it was Disney World. They had their own section in Disney World. They had a Goosebumps attraction. I think it was the MGM Hollywood Studios section of Disney World. But they had their own Goosebumps attraction. They made a series of video games after this. It was, I mean, like you were talking about, like it was the thing. And then one other cool thing is it got kids reading. I know I brought that up earlier, but this stuff got kids reading, and that was the most important, like getting kids to, yes, watch TV and play video games, but also train their mind and start reading cool stories. Because I mean, I will say when you've got so many things that are, especially these days, that are easy to grab to give you like that
instant gratification.
Exactly. It's very difficult to like point at a book and then look at something like, oh, I got to put time into this to get that gratification.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more difficult. But when you've got these crazy looking stories and monsters and stuff like that, which with no explanation on the front, I mean it's more, you're more inclined to like, well, I want to figure out what the hell's going on here. So I mean it's just, it really is, Goosebumps is really something special, and this show was, I mean, fantastic. I mean, the guy who directed this one, this episode, he went to direct many more episodes of it, but he was well known for directing horror-based TV shows. He did Friday 13th series. He did Alfred Hitchcock Presents. He directed a couple of those. He also directed the TV movie. Well, it wasn't TV movie, but it was a video of My Pet Monster, which I don't think people can see, but I got my Pet Monster up there, which was another, once again, monsters. It was so super cool. And you can definitely tell like this wasn't something that was like, let's just hammer this out, not put a lot of effort into it. You can tell people were very passionate about this.
Oh yeah, people are very passionate about the whole entire franchise.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they really did try their best on making a good show. And that's how so that's actually how they decided on which episodes to do, was they read the books and like, what can we actually do and make into a show? What books can we actually tell the story the way it's meant to be told with our budget and everything that we have? And that's that, so it went on for like 4 seasons, I believe. I don't remember exactly how many episodes they did, but that's how they chose to do the episodes.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So did you want to kick off the movie?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I can go in.
Okay.
So we start open. We've got Carly Beth, and Sabrina. They walk by this new looking like mask shop that has just opened up in town while they're on their way to pick up some jack-o'-lanterns for Halloween. And there's something about this shop that has caught Carly Beth's attention, and she doesn't really know what it is, but she's something about the mask on the wall. Like, they just look so interesting to her, and she's just like, I don't know what it is, but like, I'm drawn to this. They walk past the shop. They head over to basically pick out their jack-o'-lantern, which I'm guessing at this place is just like free jack-o'-lanterns. They're just pick them up and walk away with them, because it's also like really late at night when they're picking them up.
Yeah,
it's
free
not like
pumpkins.
Yeah, free pumpkins, which don't happen anymore.
No. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just a local thing where people just grow them and pluck them, like a local nursery or whatever. But yeah, it definitely doesn't happen nowadays. However, she reaches down to grab a pumpkin, and a hand jumps up and tries to grab her, and she obviously gets jump scared, and in reality it was her and Sabrina's classmates, Chuck and Steve, playing another prank on her.
Which is cool, because they're also wearing jack-o'-lanterns on their heads. Yeah. And it looks like that one cover, I think it's the Night of the Jack-o'-lanterns. It looks really cool because it's almost like semi-Easter egg to another book. And then they would later make that same episode.
Yeah. And Carly and Sabrina kind of like not get into an argument, but Sabrina tries to explain to Carly, like, well, you're just so easy to scare, because Carly's very, very upset that they scared her. She was just trying to get a pumpkin, and she's tired of everybody playing pranks on her and kind of being the butt of everyone's jokes. And ultimately, they kind of let it roll off. Chuck and Steve get their laugh and go home, and so does Carly.
Yeah, because technically they're friends. They're not bullies. Yeah. Chuck and Steve just like to scare her. Yeah. Because she is so easily scared, and she's just kind of like, just because I'm easily scared doesn't make it okay to scare me. You know what I mean?
No, I used to hate that as a kid. Yeah. Like, being the person that's easily scared and then having people use that to their advantage gets annoying. It just does. It would annoy anyone. You get tired of it.
No, I get it. I mean, like, it's like, in high school, like, I would, if you know me, I get very passionate about things, and I get very worked up easily. And people used to just like bug me to get me worked up. just to see me react. And it was like, no, it's not like I'm like when I say worked up, like it's just like, like I guess they would just argue with me on purpose to make me argue back.
Debate back and forth. Yeah.
But it would be like stupid stuff. You know what I mean? Like things just like, I'm like, like I would say something like, what did you like? It was just kids being kids, but it was the most, I would hate it
kids should stop being like that in high school, but they don't, unfortunately. And that will always be an issue. But Carly Beth gets home and she's already kind of irritated, but her mom is excited to show off a sculpture that she did of Carly Beth, which I just find to be weird. I mean, I don't know.
It looks good.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks very realistic. I mean, it looks just like Carly Beth. It's just an odd gesture. I mean, it's sweet. She made her something.
She's like, well, I did it because she's like, why'd you do it, Mom? She goes, well, because I love you.
I get it, but I mean, I wouldn't want to like walk around a house with sculptures of all three of our heads. That's just
no. I get that.
It's a little odd. It's not anything bad. It's just odd.
This is like something that once it's made is like, all right, I can go in the attic.
Yeah. But she heads to her bedroom to cool off and call it a night, and then her brother scares her, which just adds fuel to the fire.
Her brother's a little shit.
Yeah.
I'll say that right now. He's a little shit. There's a couple of things he does. I'm like, man, I got my ass whooped if I did that.
Well, yeah. So we move on to the next day at school, and now, at least in mine and Logan's opinions, Chuck and Steve take it way too far, and they end up putting worms in Carly Beth's sandwich, which she goes to bite down on, and obviously there's worm in there, and she, rightfully so, is incredibly upset.
Oh my God, I don't even know what I would do.
Yeah.
To be honest, I literally, I really don't know. Your natural reaction would be so mad. You'd probably not like physically hit somebody, but probably be like at least a push or a shove, like at least because I mean, I have no idea what I would do because that is foul, fucking foul.
So Carly Beth ends up leaving school and heads home, and she's very, very upset. She gets home. She's upset that she's going to be a duck. She doesn't want to be something like a duck. She really wants to get payback for all these people, aka Chuck and Steve, doing her wrong and humiliating her and scaring her. And she just feels like it's her turn to turn the tables and scare other people. She's had it, and she's going to show them what's scary. Yeah,
I mean, no offense, but she's rightfully so.
Like I
said, I understand it's not, technically it is bullying, but not, when you think of bullying, you don't think this.
The worm in the sandwich is bullying. That's clear as day bullying. But jumping out and scaring your friends for a good laugh, that walks the line. I think when you start to do it excessively, to your advantage and their disadvantage, it becomes bullying.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, to be honest, I mean, we can't say, like, we can say, I'm just saying, like, but we can't, like, not say, but, like, guys are notorious for doing this shit when they're that age, like, I don't know what, like, there's a term for it now, but, like, messing around with girls because you secretly like them, but you don't know how to tell them that you like them, so you just kind of like bug them so you are like in some way talking to them and getting a reaction out of them because you don't really know how to tell them you like them. It's a weird thing, but like I think for kids are still, I mean, I don't know if kids still do that, but I mean that's like a hormonal thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that anyone that has a child that's a girl should not instill in them that, people are mean to you because they like you, or they do this to you because they like you and they just don't know how to tell you. Because that sets a bad precedence on how to show people that you have feelings for them.
I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying
that it just shouldn't be. It's been normalized way back when, but I think in today's time, people are finally starting to stop normalizing that.
Yeah, I mean the kids these days they're completely different. They're a different breed of kid.
Yeah, that's a whole other story for another day. So she ends up heading to the masks shop. The shop that her and Sabrina passed by before, and she's going there to try to find a mask. However, she gets there, she opens the door, and the owner of the mask shop tries to kind of shoo her away because they're closing. She can't look around, they're closing. But however, after her pleading with him, he lets her just look around, but only for like 5 minutes. And then, she has to leave.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I didn't bring this up earlier, but the book to like the book version to the episode version, they really did get it. They got like 90% of the book is the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like the movie or the episode or whatever, like they really do nail it on the head.
Well, that's the one thing, because the books don't go in too crazy detail, which I think also made them appeal to children because they were like easily digestible.
Yeah. I mean, really, like I think it was like a 2-hour read or something like that. Like, I mean, it's not crazy detailed. Like for example, if I can remember correctly, I mean, I did read this before our taping, but like if I can remember correctly, the shop owner really doesn't have like that scarred face in the book, and to my recollection, if what I can remember, if this, I mean, like this is what I'm remembering from book, I don't recall them going into detail about that. I don't recall them going into detail about like these were like he's wearing a mask himself and stuff like that. I don't really recall that. I mean, if it was a friend, like I said, we're not a lot of detail. If it was in there, it was probably just a brief sentence that was easily looked over because it's not a big plot to the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So she ends up stumbling into a back room and seeing several different masks that she finds intriguing. And she asks to buy one of them, but the shop owner tells her that they are not for sale. However, Carly's very, very adamant that she needs this mask. She needs it, and she just has to have it. So Carly Beth ends up stealing the mask, and I mean, she threw money at him.
Yeah, she paid for it.
Yeah, but she shouldn't have taken it, and runs out with it. And then she gets outside, and she thinks, "Oh my gosh, what did I do?" She literally says, "What am I doing?" And turns around, and the shop owner flips the close sign and locks the door. And that's it. So now she's forced to head home with the mask.
Yeah, and I will say, these masks are so freaking cool. Like some of them even look like Cenobites from the Hellraiser series. So especially the one with the teeth and everything like that. Very, very wide. I mean, even the fat one looked like the fat Cenobite. I don't know, like the makeup design for this episode is freaking phenomenal. And then the sculpture that we have here, like, I mean, like, well, this is the mask, but like this, this mask that we actually get for this show that she's obsessed with is so freaking creepy, so freaking scary. Even to like these episodes of the show always had a very weird color palette, and almost even when it aired, like rewatching it now, it looks old and dirty. But even when it aired, it looked old and dirty for the time of that when it aired. It had a like that, whatever that color palette or whatever, whatever color correction they did to the raw footage, if that's how they, did film and shows back then. I'm assuming it's nothing really has majorly changed, or maybe guess, I don't know. But whatever filter, whatever you want to call it, whatever they did for this show definitely makes it eerie, definitely makes it scary just because it doesn't look like everything else that was put on TV at the time. And I don't think it's because they filmed all these episodes in Canada. So I don't think it's because it was like a Canadian-based show.
No, I'm sure there's some sort of intention behind it.
Yeah, even though it aired on, like, it was a U.S.-based show, but it was filmed in Canada. So I don't think that had something to do. Because I know, like, with BBC and stuff like that, like Europe, like the British network and stuff like that, their TV shows always look completely different than the U.S.-based shows. I guess it's just what frame rate and what kind of film stock they use to film it. I'm not too sure exactly. So I definitely noticed that there was definitely something different than your standard TV-based show that you were seeing on Nickelodeon or whatever. Definitely made this different than anything you've seen before.
Yeah. So she gets home with the mask, and the first thing she does is scare her brother with it on her way to her room. However, when she gets in her room and tries to take the mask off, she notices that it's like kind of difficult to get off. It's pretty tight. And she doesn't think anything of it. She just chalks it up as the mask being tight. However, she puts it back on to get a good look at it in the mirror before she heads out. And she now realizes that it's kind of, she doesn't realize, but you realize as you're watching that it's kind of morphed to her.
Yeah, you see it and there's this.
It's almost like it suctions in towards her
there's
skin.
this like little sound bite where it's like that, where like basically it's sucking to her face.
Yeah.
And before she put it on, you could see clear as day that her eyes and the skin around her eyes and stuff like that were her skin. And then there was a difference between the skin of the mask versus the skin on her face. But when this second time she's put on this mask, you can tell it's definitely different. You know what I mean? It's more flush to her face, and the tone of the skin around the eyes is starting to look a little bit different.
Yeah, so she sneaks out. And as she's getting ready to leave, her mom almost catches her because her mom wants to see her dressed up in her duck costume. However, her dad calls because he's in a work trip in Chicago to talk to her mom. So her mom gets distracted by the phone, and Carly decides to take her head sculpture that her mom made her and put it on a stick and heads out the door with the mask on and her head on a stick to Sabrina's house to start trick-or-treating.
Yeah, that was another cool thing is like that. I mean, like I said, like a lot of this is like in the book. She does the same thing with the mask or whatever and brings the head with her. It's basically kind of like the masks itself, even though she's, from the first time she saw it and touched it, it had like, I won't say possession, but it definitely made her do questionable things.
Yeah, like stealing it and running out of the shop, and she immediately is like, what did I just do?
Yeah, and that's another thing is I will say, like, we didn't bring it up in the beginning, but like, obviously if like a couple years, I don't know if it was last year or whatever, but there's the new Goosebumps series, and season 2 is about to come out with Ross from Friends or whatever, they're going to go, do certain books, but like in that, it was very adamant in that, the remake version of this episode with the girl who had the mask, like you can tell, like she wasn't like just by being in possession of the mask, she acted differently. She didn't have to be wearing the mask.
Yeah.
So like this mask definitely affects you in a bad way.
Yeah, it's a haunted mask.
Yeah, and the thing is like as the story progresses, like almost to the point where like the mask itself becomes the person that's wearing it in a sense. Yeah,
I think that's the whole point.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, yeah, definitely in the second one, because definitely the mask just completely takes over the shop owner in the second one.
Well, yeah, and even in this one, she has personality switches where she almost like doesn't even recall what she did, which we'll get to that. So she heads to Sabrina's, and on the way, she's just scaring kids left and right, and she has this like gremlin type laugh, and she's like hunched over and scurrying around to Sabrina's house, and just being a menace to trick-or-treaters on her way to Sabrina's house. And Sabrina comes outside and is taken back because she didn't expect to see Carly in the mask, and she finds the mask to be like very freaky.
Yeah, she also scares her brother too while wearing the mask, and that was another thing is like when she scares her brother, she's using this new voice. And when
he's like, "How'd you do that?"
Yeah, and that was the thing is like he never like it didn't sound like it was coming from Carly Beth. It didn't seem like a voice that she could make, and we're getting the same voice again with Sabrina, which that's the reason why she doesn't know it's Carly Beth.
Yeah, same thing with like the gremlin noises and things like that. So Carly Beth kind of tells Sabrina, don't be scared. It's just me. I'm just playing around. I'm just messing around with you, and we're gonna scare the boys and stuff like that. And Carly Beth feels the masks and tells Sabrina. I'm mixing everybody up. Let me slow down. Sabrina feels the mask and tells Carly Beth how weird it is, and tries to convince Carly to take it off.
Yeah. She's like, this feels like skin, Carly. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. It's too scary. You need to take it off. And then basically it's this kind of stammer. Like she starts talking and she just keeps on talking and talking and talking one after another. And it's almost like, and then Carly Beth's not like responding to her. So she just keeps on talking to her. And it's almost kind of like talking to like having a kid, like just bug you, and until you finally blow up. And that's kind of like what Carly Beth does. She just blows up and then she starts shaking her, which I thought
she's essentially choking her, but you can't really tell.
Yeah, in the book, she is choking her.
I mean, you can definitely tell that's probably what's happening in the movie because she's shaking her back and forth.
But we even said, like, it looks like she's shaking herself is shaking more than Sabrina's shaking. But I also like if you can't remember the show, if you haven't watched the episode in a while, go watch it. There are the 12 series. I mean, the long hour-long episodes or whatever are on Netflix. But go watch it, because I will say one thing. I remember being a kid, they put too much freaking commercial breaks in this TV show. I mean, every freaking thing was a damn commercial break, and I remember hating it. And then also, because it was a big deal, you couldn't wait to sit down in front of the TV, crisscross applesauce with the 32-inch. I was just sitting there with my sister, couldn't wait for a new episode to come out. And it was feel like every single time something happened, ad break. And
so you get those weird cuts when you watch a Netflix.
Yeah, and this is the cut where it's like episode 1 over. You're like, was that even like 10 minutes? I feel like I only watched, because it was so good. You didn't want it. Like, it literally, the show was so freaking good. Like, you wanted more, and they really had you wanting more.
Yeah. So Carly Beth and Sabrina still kind of continue into the fight after Carly Beth shakes Sabrina. Sabrina's telling Carly Beth that hurt, and she doesn't want to go trick-or-treating with her if she's going to wear that mask. She, pretty much Carly Beth can go off on her own. So Carly Beth pretty much says, forget you, and takes off and starts terrorizing people, throws a pumpkin. I think she throws a pumpkin at a front door. Just like terrorizes all the trick-or-treaters left and right.
Yeah, she's just going on haywire, because it's almost like that, like, it's basically all this rage that's been built up.
Yeah.
By being scared. And she's just like, you know what?
She feels powerful because now the shoe's on the other foot and she's scaring other people.
She's just walking around with double birds and just like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
This is my one time. I'm going to be doing the scaring.
Yeah.
Which, no offense, I don't blame her. I don't agree on being mean and scaring children.
Yeah.
But kids of your peers and your age, I don't find anything wrong with scaring
You're
them.
like, it's fair game.
Yeah, 100%. That is 100% fair game.
Yeah, so she ends up finding Chuck and Steve in the cemetery, and she ends up scaring them because she has.
Well, can we talk about that? Like, that's the first thing. We're done trick or treating. What are we going to do? We're going to go to the cemetery and eat all our candy.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a very cool atmosphere and it's a very cool scene. But it's like, out of all the places you could go, it's like, to eat candy, like, that's where you pick a cemetery.
Yeah.
And this town that's in it, these filming locations definitely feel very small town. Mm-hmm. Like, this cemetery, obviously, clearly, it's within walking distance from her neighborhood because she's walking everywhere. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, it definitely has that, like, small town vibe. Yeah. Which I do find very cool, because I grew up in a very small town. I lived on the outskirts of the small town. But once we did our trick-or-treating, we did in town, because there was no houses around where we could trick-or-treat at. But once me and my sister got in town, it felt like that. Like, you could walk in a neighborhood for a little bit, and then within like 5 minutes, you're at Mount Pleasant Cemetery. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was, I don't know, it was just it was very, very cool.
Yeah. So she, like I said, scares Chuck and Steve while they're eating their candy in a cemetery. And they pretty much are asking her, where did you, what are you doing, Carly? Where did you get that? What is that mask? And pretty much the same questions everybody else
and
asks.
And also what's freaking them out is her mom's art project. They're like, what's called? It's like, what's going on? And she's like, this is Carly Beth. This is Carly Beth. And look what you've done to her.
And at this point, now the mask is like profusely sweating.
Oh, it's so
taking
gross.
on like real characteristics.
So fucking cool. I'm sorry. It's so freaking cool. Oh, it starts like, she's like I said, it's sweating. She's opened her mouth and the teeth are freaking moving.
And it gets progressive.
Yeah. And then the voice gets deeper and deeper. Yeah. And there's this one part where, like, she's scaring the boys and she's like, this is what's left of Carly Beth. And then out of nowhere, her mask, which earlier it smiled at the camera, which was very weird and doesn't explain, because Carly Beth gets spooked by it when her mom first shows it to her. But her mom's like, it's all in her head. Oh, yeah,
the statue of her head.
Yeah, and then now it's literally saying, help me, which that freaks out the boys even more because it's a freaking inanimate object talking to them. You know what I mean? So Carly Beth gets fucking scared to death. So she throws the head, and I don't know if this is Carly Beth doing it or maybe the mask is possessing her to do this, but she buries the mask.
Yeah, but she also, I'm assuming
buries
it's the mask.
the head. Yeah, the head.
I assume it's the mask because she literally buries it like a feral animal.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. It's like, well,
she's like grunting and breathing heavy and like on all fours digging like a dog.
Yeah, I guess it is that because after this, so we see Carly Beth meet back up with Sabrina, and she kind of says she's sorry, and she's like, Sabrina's like, well, where have you been? Did you scare Chuck and Steve? She's like,
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, like she doesn't have a recollection of what just happened, which what we just said earlier, which I think that is clear. That is like, okay, this mask is taking over.
Yeah.
And the Carly Beth that we know is slowly slipping away.
Yeah.
Which is very cool, even for mature audience, kids, but like that's a very cool take.
Yeah. So she gets back to Sabrina's and she's inside Sabrina's house, sorting through their candy and stuff. And Carly Beth decides to try to take the mask off. And she asks for Sabrina's help because it's really tight and she can't get it off. And Sabrina starts to panic because she can't get it off. They were going to try knife or scissors, but then Sabrina says that's too dangerous. Let me try to find the end of it. And then, she looks down Carly's shirt, she looks down the back, and she starts panicking because there is no bottom to the mask. There is no flap to pull up on.
Oh my God, so terrifying.
Yeah.
So terrifying. I mean, think about that happening. Like literally, you put something on your face and all of a sudden it fuses to your body and there's nothing and you didn't even know it did it.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part.
And while this is happening, Carly Beth looks in the mirror and she starts freaking out that the eyes she sees in the mirror are not her eyes. This isn't her. Get it off. And she's on full-blown panic mode, as is Sabrina.
Yeah, and she's freaking out. She has no idea what to do. Like I said, and there's got Sabrina, same thing. She doesn't know what to freaking do.
Yeah.
So Carly Beth storms off and she's like, I got to go back to the mask store. So she runs back off to the mask store, which for some reason, I remember the episode much differently. I remember like the mask store not being there when she went back. Kind of like a big situation where he goes to the little the coin machine, then comes back the next day and it's gone.
Yeah.
I thought that it wasn't there, but no, it's there. And he's there. He opens the door for her. He's like, I thought you'd be back. And she's like, I need to take it off. I need to take this off. And he's like, I told you not to take it. I told you not to take it. And she's like, that's your face now. And when we find out no, they're not masks. They're faces.
Yeah.
And basically that these are faces that he had been working on in a laboratory. So he's some kind of mad scientist somewhat. And he had been working on different faces for, I guess people with defects and stuff like that. And he said every single time they all had the exact same story. He would work on a face and they'd be great. Then all of a sudden the change would happen.
Yeah,
and then
they slowly get worse.
And they would turn ugly. And, he said, even this face right here. So then we find out his face is not his face.
Yeah.
His face is one of his science experiments, and it is starting to turn. If I can remember correctly, I don't think that's in the book. I do not remember reading that. But I will say it's very cool for the story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. He starts to rub at his face and, it's like, this is just going to get worse over time. And he basically, the moral of the story was, to not cover up your faults with a false front.
Yeah.
To not cover up.
Don't mask who you are.
Don't mask who you are.
Literally.
And that's exactly what he did. He's like, I made this to represent myself, but my faults still are there. It's just a mask. And the faults in himself have corrupted the mask. And that is why the mask is turning to the unloved ones, as he would say. And that's what's happened to every single mask through this process. She's like, is there any way we can take it off? And he's like, there might be one way. Apparently with each mask, you can wear it up to 3 times. Mm-hmm. The 3rd time is the final time. So she's put this on. This is her 2nd time wearing it.
Yeah.
And she's got to the point where the only way is to show a symbol of love, because these are deemed the unloved ones.
Yeah.
If you show a symbol of love, then you can remove the mask. But in this whole fiasco of her freaking out, she's woken up the other unloved ones, and now those are chasing her. Scared the shit out of me when I was little. Scared the shit out of me. This is scary.
Now it's funny, but yeah.
It's funny because it's really bad effect.
Yeah.
But it was, oh my God, think about that. Think about that. Running around town being chased by floating mass. I shit my pants. Literally. I mean, it's like, I'm just saying, I was maybe 5 or 6 when this came out. I was Grayson's age, literally. Yeah. And it scared the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm. So she ends up getting chased out and she heads back to the cemetery to find her mom's, project. She's going to unbury the head. And she is able to scare the faces away that have been following her. And she's finally able to peel the mask off now that she's found
that was a symbol
the sculpture that she first kind of thought was weird and insulted almost. Or for lack of better words. And so she's finally able to peel the mask off and return home. And her mom asks her, where have you been? Sabrina's been calling. She's been very worried about you. And she just says that she, had quite a night, which I'm like, you're way too young for that excuse. Like, you better tell me where you've been.
And now one thing I will say, there's just one little thing that was I will say one little detail about the book, but in the book, what she ends up doing is grabbing it and putting it over her head, almost like a mask over the mask. And this is not a mask. This is basically a sculpture. She puts over her head, which she cannot see, but all of a sudden the noises that they're making are stopped. They've stopped. Mm-hmm. And when she ends up taking off that, and then the mask releases itself and she's able to take it off. So that was a little bit, just a little bit different, which I think I like that a little bit more. But regardless, we got the same thing, what we saw.
And then last minute, as the movie's about to come to a close, her brother scares her once again, but this time is wearing the mask.
And that's the one thing, though, with her brother. As soon as she comes back, when she gets back, he plays a joke on her. She's like, and he's like, "What's with your face, Carly Beth? What's with your face?" And he drops his bowl of ice cream on the floor and stuff like that. I'm like, boy, what the hell you think you're doing? Dropping a glass bowl of ice cream on the floor just to make a little joke. You little shit. That's what I'm saying. He's a shit. Shit.
And then in R.L. Stine fashion, he ends the movie with pretty much saying, what was the line?
Oh, yeah, it was something like, now that wasn't so scary. Mom and Dad? Ask my parents, whatever. And then
ask my parents. And it pans over to 2 older people, and they look all petrified on the couch.
Yeah, because that was the thing is, a lot of these episodes, R.L. Stine would do an introduction for them, which was really cool.
Which is the viewers beware, you're in for a scare.
Yeah, exactly. Because the books were readers beware, you're in for a scare. And it's so, it's just very, it's very cute. Yeah. Yes, he can act worth nothing, but he
doesn't need to. He's just a narrator.
Hi, I'm R.L. Stine. And it's just literally just and it's funny. But then I watched a lot of interviews with him. That is just how he talks.
Well, yeah.
Regardless.
Sure. Yeah.
That is just him literally
Some people are very just monotone.
Yeah, he is very monotone. But that was the one thing is, and back to, I said earlier, he he never, like I said, when he wanted to frighten kids and scare them, but he never wanted them to lose sleep over his books.
Yeah.
He always wrote them intent where as soon as you put the book down, you're safe in your house, and that's just a book, and that's all it is. Everything that you felt only lives in that book, and then once the book is put down, you don't take that with you. He was very adamant because he did not want to do that to children, because he didn't, like I said, he started making jokes. He wanted people to laugh. That was his goal, was to make people laugh. And then he got into horror just because someone asked him to do it. And then he just, to this day, he's still writing books to this day. It's crazy how many, and it's him and his wife is the editor, and it's just them, fucking rocking it out. 35 plus years later of writing 40 years later, writing books. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's called, would you think, Becca, that this is the scariest episode that you can remember?
No, I really don't like the puppet one.
Oh, the Night of the Living Dummies?
Yeah.
Oh, Slappy is terrifying. Yeah. Especially because the Slappy that we get on the actual book versus the live action Slappy.
Yeah, all the other
scary.
ones I can take. Recently, after I got my last haul of Goosebumps, I read the Snowman one.
Yeah. The Abominable Snowman or something like that. Yeah.
And just the Slappy one just really freaks me out. I don't know. Dolls kind of freak me out a little bit.
Well, Say Cheese,
especially when I was younger.
Say Cheese and Die is creepy. I think that one's got Ryan Gosling in it. That one's really creepy. Where if you get the camera and stuff like that, that one's creepy. Monster Blood's not actually creepy. It's weird, but I wouldn't say creepy. The camp one, the one camp one was really creepy. Where it was like they were in. I can't remember, but it was something weird because at the end of the episode, it's like they're on the moon or something because I can't remember, but it's that was very
sci-fi.
Very Twilight Zone-y.
Yeah. So I would say this is not the scariest. I think Slappy is the scariest.
Yeah, I would say like for me, this one was pretty. I mean, this really did scare me. It was the first one I saw. I remember watching the premiere. I was at my mom's friend's house, and I remember I was in her son's room. Her son was much older, and he was gone for the night or whatever. And I don't remember who she was, but I remember, I asked, I was like, hey, can you put it on Fox for me? And she was like, oh yeah, of course, Logan. Whatever I can't remember the lady's name. My mom. I don't even know if my mom remember who it was. But yeah, like I said, it was the weekend before Halloween.
Yeah.
And sitting there crisscross episodes in front of just like you all can't see it behind me, but I have a Sony Trinitron with the wood paneling on the sides and stuff like that. But just sitting down, just watching it on one of those TVs. I mean, sitting there literally probably eating Halloween candy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I could probably even, if I really tried hard, I could probably draw the room. Like this kid had the coolest freaking room. It was like a Cape Cod style room.
Yeah.
With the slant, like ours. Well, this is Cape Cod, with the slanted walls and stuff like that, and a lot of wood and stuff. He had and he had posters everywhere. He had coolest freaking room.
Yeah. Casey and I had Cape Cod rooms where each room has it's a Cape Cod house, and the rooms are essentially what would have been the attic, and they're usually split in two by a staircase. And then she had the left one, I had the right one, and we each had a little window in the front of our rooms because that was the front of the house.
Yeah. Oh, it was so cool. And he had wood floors and stuff like that. And just, he had this cool, and he just had all these really, really cool posters on his wall and stuff like that, of Cable and, Wolverine and stuff like that, which I was Marvel, this is the highlight of the Marvel year. So he just had the coolest bedroom I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
He even had he had a wooden bedpost, and he had a mask on the wooden bedpost.
Yeah.
And I don't know, a vampire mask, stuff like that. It was the perfect atmosphere to watch that.
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't know, I fantasize about this a lot, but I'm telling you, if there was ever a future where we had time travel, but if we could travel, but let's say this, I'll let y'all know, and if you tell me what you want in the comments. But let's just say in a future where there was time travel, my passion or something I would out of time travel is I don't need to be able to go back and change anything.
No, I just want to go back and experience things.
Not even experience. I just want, experience would be a part of it, but I just want to go back through my life and relive certain moments of my life. Not change it, just relive it.
Yeah, I would like to be just a fly on the wall.
Yeah, or may think of it as almost like a, you go into a room with a projection or a chip and you just see what you see. And I don't know, that's the only kind of to be honest, in life, I don't want to change anything. I would just to revisit, see things for the first time so I can re-experience those of just my life.
Yeah, you're very big on wanting to have those first again.
Yeah,
which is understandable.
It's just even with movies, it comes like I said, if I brought it with movies, you see something that's extremely funny, it will never be as funny as that you saw it that first time. There's times where movies, that movie will never. Yes, it is rare for you to. It does happen that you enjoy a movie over time even more, but nothing is prepare you for like that one movie for that first time you saw it.
Yeah.
Like nothing, like, because you don't know what to expect, you know. Like, you know, just one movie that just comes to my mind now is like, for example, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I had no idea how good it was going to be when I bought those tickets to sit down by myself to see it. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was just watching it just because Andy Dwyer was in it, aka Chris Pratt. But he was just Andy Dwyer to me at the time. He wasn't Chris Pratt. He was Andy on Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And it was the next Marvel movie. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into, how good that movie was.
Yeah.
So I'm just using that as an example. But this was one of those moments. Like, I'd love to go back to that weekend of that Halloween, that woman's house, and watch this all with the Crypt Keeper freaking telling, you know, doing in the intermittent commercials and stuff like that. It was so cool. So cool. So cool. So
definitely let us know in the comment section what Goosebumps movie or book that you think is the scariest. Was it The Haunted Mask, 1 or 2 or both, or any of the other books/episodes of the franchise? Definitely let us know in those comments. We'd like to, you know, see what you guys think. And maybe watch some of the ones that you guys think were the scariest.
Yeah, and what is your favorite moments? Like, do you have any fond memories of like being introduced to Goosebumps and stuff like that? Like,
I know, were you more books or were you more episodes? I was more books.
Yeah, exactly. I was more episodes because I talked about that briefly at the beginning. But like, to give us those like memories, because like, I will say there's nothing I like doing than daydreaming down nostalgia. Just
even just not our own, but like I like hearing other people's moments of all across the board. Nostalgia feels good, whether it's my nostalgia or someone else's nostalgia. I will live vicariously through you while you enjoy that, whatever moment that you're remembering or things like that. So definitely share those moments with us because we like to dive into it.
Yeah, and this also, as you know, because this is when this episode releases, it is Halloween.
Yeah.
So what was better to do a Halloween episode than to do the Haunted Mask, which, takes place on Halloween.
Yeah. And we hope you guys had the best Halloween ever if you are listening to this outside of the Halloween day. And if you are currently listening to it on Halloween, we hope that you have the best Halloween night possible.
Yeah. And I will also, since this is in the future, I will say happy anniversary to my lovely wife because we got married on Halloween. So
no better day. It's easy to remember.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about forgetting it.
No, just kidding. It was a great night, and we got married in the same small town that Logan, definitely holds near and dear to his heart. And we got to have little trick-or-treaters run around their town square while we were getting married, which was fun to kind of peek out the windows and see everyone in their costumes in a really small town. So Halloween is something definitely Logan and I both hold close. And we enjoy celebrating with you guys too.
Yeah, and then like I said, if you do like this episode, just let us know. We have some stuff brewing. If you would like to see more Goosebumps episodes being reviewed, we have an idea of what we want to do for the 2025 year. So just let us know, and you know what? Put your favorites in the comments below. We'll take a look at them, see which those are the first ones we want to knock out.
But thank you guys for joining us on our favorite holiday and one of our anniversaries. With more to come, I'm Becca Hedrick.
I'm Logan Hedrick.
And we're Video Villa Podcast.
I wonder if this thing actually fits. I actually haven't tried it on. I want to try it on real quick. How's it look?
It looks good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Does it feel good?
Not really.
No.
No, take it off. Oh, it's not coming off, Becca. It's not coming off. Becca, those are my eyes. Those are my eyes.